She's serving kunk.
Flight 815 crash landed, but where? There's weird jungle noises and a polar bear. What the fuck is going on over there? Helen
and Alex
will guide you through. If you've seen Lost 20 times,
or if you're brand new,
welcome to our show. It's
Dharma Fish Biscuits. Hello and welcome to Dharma Fish Biscuits, your new favourite Lost podcast.
We're your hosts, Helen and Alex. We're going episode by episode, spoiler free, bringing you all the hot takes no one ever asked for.
We are on Instagram at Dharma Fish Biscuits Pod. We are on TikTok at Dharma Fish Biscuits. And you can also email us directly on dharmafishbiscuitspod@gmail.com.
We also have a Patreon at patreon.com/dharmafishbiscuits, which you can join for free.
Free.
For a whole bunch of goodies. I'm putting jingles up there. We're doing outtakes from the show sometimes, occasional behind the scenes posts, and also the spoilery version of the show.
Yes, this podcast is a spoiler-free podcast, so it is very safe for newcomers. However, sometimes Helen and I might chat about things with a spoilery context of all 6 seasons. These episodes here are spoiler-free. However, on the Patreon, you can find longer, extended, uncensored episodes with spoilers.
Instead of going beat by beat, we aim to focus our discussion on the character the episode centres around, first in flashbacks, then on the island, and then we'll circle back to anything we missed. B-plots, C-plots, whatever that may be.
This week, we've got our first Jin episode, Season 1, Episode 17, In Translation. Do you get it, Helen? Lost in Translation. Do you get it? Do you get it?
Tiresome jokes.
I would like to say up top that I think I actually had almost the opposite response to this episode than I did to the last one, which was the last one. I watched it once and was like, yeah, this is okay. And I watched it a second time and was like, holy shit, this might be one of my favourite episodes. This time I watched it the first time and was like, this is such a good episode. And then when I was watching it a second time, I was sort of thinking, I mean, yeah, it's okay.
It has some moments, but yeah, it's not an old-timer.
Yeah.
You know what is an old-timer?
What is an old-timer?
Jin's cheekbones.
I
The
suppose so.
island glow-up is real.
That is very true.
He looks so fit in the island, a lot of the island scenes. And then we flash back and it's like, yeah, he's still fit. He's still Daniel Day Kim, but like, it's not hitting in the way that it hits on island.
Let's start with the less fit Jin in the flashbacks.
Jin is meeting Sun's father. And this is also the flip side of a flashback that we saw in House of the Rising Sun, where we know that he has told Sun, I'm going to ask for your father's permission to marry you. And she's like, you don't know my father. And he's like, but I know me. And then this is him bringing all his...
being his charming
delightful,
self.
sweet, like, young Jinness to this meeting.
Yeah.
Sun's father asks Jin whether he would be willing to give up his business ambitions of owning a restaurant and a hotel in order to be with Sun, and he says he would. Why would I give my daughter away to a man who would give up so easily on his dreams? Because she is my dream.
Yeah.
He's so sweet.
It is very cute. It's nice. This is like the pure-hearted Jin. Like, it's the same character that we saw in Sun's flashback as well. Which, like, it's just nice to see that sort of consistency. Because I feel like at the time, when we saw Sun's flashback, it sort of felt quite jarring to go from the Jin we saw on the island to nice, friendly pre-island Jin. Anyway, they shake hands. He's allowed to marry Sun. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, Sun's dad is very quick to agree to this. For whatever reason, he seems like, oh, okay, you're from a poor fishing village. All I know about you is that you seem to really love my daughter. You're willing to work for me. Job's a good one.
Well, I wonder if, because Jin is coming across as a bit of a simp, if he's like, this man is going to be so easy to manipulate and get him to do whatever I tell him to do.
Well,
He's
that's
like,
a very depressing take.
It is. It never really occurred to me until right now, but I'm wondering if that's when he says, why would I hire you if you give up on your dreams so easily? And Jin's like, she is my dream. Then he's like, great, this man is actually going to give up on his personal ambitions because all he cares about is my daughter, and he wants my daughter so badly he's going to impress me.
To leverage him to all sorts of situations. Yeah, that sucks.
Anyway, they get married.
Sun looks pretty odd in her post-wedding get-up. She has a very elaborate dress that is not, I would say, like, flattering or particularly... Yeah. It's got a very odd collar thing going on.
I was going to say, it sort of looks like she put her coat on backwards.
Yeah, that's kind of all I had to say about that. Oh, and then they have this conversation and talk about their honeymoon, and Jin's like, oh, but I can't because your father needs me to work and blah, blah. But then he gives her a white flower. And she goes,
like the
flower from her first flashback in the previous episode, House of the Rising Sun? And he goes, yes, my love, that flower.
They also discuss his dead dad. He tells Sun's dad that his dad is dead. Now he's visiting Sun on the wedding, and she's like, I wish your dad had been alive. And he's like, ooh, yeah.
Yikes.
And she's like, oh no,
Looks
I
like
upset
I have
you.
to keep up this lie now for the rest of my life.
Yeah. So then we go, he's seeing Sun's dad again, and he is like very apologetic, and some machinery bullshit has happened.
Something's gone wrong at the factory, and he's like, I'm so sorry, it's all my fault. Dad's
Mr.
like,
Baker's like, don't even worry, you've got a promotion.
You can make it up to me by going to deliver a message to the Minister for Environment? Can't remember. Industry?
Secretary for Environmental Safety.
There you go.
Thank you. So Jin goes to see this man, and as soon as he walked in, who was sitting on the sofa but Chekhov's Sharpay. And
I know that's a dog, but it's giving High School Musical.
It's giving High School Musical. Bop, 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 bop to the top.
And who's on the TV?
Who is on the TV? Chekhov's Hurley.
Yeah, I like that. That's one of those really subtle little lost mystery moments where it's so out of context and you can blink and you miss it, but then you're like, wait a second, is that Hurley? Yes, it is.
Yeah, I actually really love this, and also it's been quite fun watching like the crumbs around Hurley being dropped throughout the season up till now, because like we see him playing backgammon with Walt, and he's like owing shit tons of money to Walt, and he's like, don't worry, I'm good for it, and now Hurley's on TV, and it's like, next episode we'll get Hurley's full story. But I actually think he's one of the few characters that has got this many crumbs dropped about him without us actually knowing anything. It sort of feels like everyone else was either like we immediately got their story, or we just sort of don't know anything about them until we get a flashback.
I think other than the TV thing though, the other crumbs were such small crumbs that a first-time viewer wouldn't even pick up on them. They would just think that he was being a bit jokey. And it's only when you watch it knowing his storyline that you're like, oh, that was a little crumb. I see it now. We also, apart from the Chekhov's Hurley, this also gives us the backstory to Jin and Sun's dog. Obviously one of the great mysteries of Lost that needed an answer. The guy is so grateful when Jin is like, I have a message to deliver to you, and it's not going to come in the form of horrific violence. I'm just going to say Mr. Pike is displeased. The guy is so grateful and so falling over himself to thank Jin that he's like, take the dog. I have to give you something. Now, here's my problem with this scene.
Yeah.
Clearly the man, the Secretary for Environmental Safety, was expecting violence. He was expecting to be murdered in front of his child, or at least beaten very badly in front of his child.
Yes.
He got away with a warning, let's say. Jin didn't know what he was doing, but he got away with a verbal
and then just continued
message.
To not fix the problem?
Right.
Question
I'm like,
mark?
He should have got the message that, like, I need to reopen Mr. Pike's factory because he is displeased.
Yeah.
And clearly I understand that there's a real threat of violence if I do not do that. And so then, but then he's like, oh, but I won't. I'll just wait until the violence actually shows up for me. And then I'll, like,
the only thing I could think about this, the only thing I think was that perhaps he thinks it's gonna, as soon as Jin comes and says, I've got a message, he thinks, oh shit, I'm in trouble. And then when he's like, oh, he's just displeased. Okay, it wasn't as big a deal as I thought it was. It's gonna be fine then.
But he clearly understood it was a big deal because he was like, thank you, I'm so sorry, take my dog, what can I do? Like, you know, he is... and I was also thinking, Jin, when the guy is responding like this, you gotta know you fucked up. Because you gotta realise this was not the response. This was not what the guy was expecting you to do when you walked through the door.
Yeah. Anyway, Sun and Jin have a lovely little dinner. She's cooked a veritable feast for him. They sit down to have their dinner, and then the phone rings. And he's like, no, I won't answer it. And then the house phone rings, and he's like, oh, fine. I guess I better answer it.
And what does he need to do? Yes, he needs to go and deliver the message, but properly this time, with fatal violence. Here's a fun thing about Jin. So he goes with one of Mr. Paik's associates, who is like a Bond villain, carrying a gun. And he manages to get ahead of the guy, so in order to basically prevent him from killing the Secretary for Environmental Safety, and instead just beating this guy bloody and being like, I saved your life.
Yeah.
Which is good, because, you know, we like Jin not being a murderer.
That's good.
I do find it interesting how they managed to set up the scene in such a way that even though he is using violence, and he does come out of this, you know, bloody from the beating that he's given this man on Sun's dad's orders, he's still the good guy. Like, he's still the one who actually prevented more harm from being done, and so we can still root for him as the audience. We're not coming away from it being like, oh, it's so bad that he beat someone up. We're like, oh, it's so good that he intervened and prevented this guy from getting killed.
It was good violence, actually.
Sometimes the only thing that can stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with some fists.
Good guy with fists. So then he comes home, and this is when we then see the other side of what we saw in House of the Rising Sun. And I feel like when we see it in House of the Rising Sun, it seemed to me like this wasn't necessarily the first thing.
Time.
Maybe the first time it had gone this bad and that Sun had like seen him covered in blood, but I certainly got the feeling that there had maybe been some steps up and this had escalated to this point. Whereas this time we see that actually this is the first time he's done anything like this. And it sort of reframed for me Jin's reaction to Sun, where he seems really... When we see it the first time, it feels like he's really hard-faced and really stern and like, I have to do this. And this time we sort of realise that he is putting that exterior on for Sun. And we see that especially...
traumatized.
Yeah, when she leaves the room and like his hands are shaking and he looks at himself in the mirror, it's quite clear that actually he's not... Like when we first see it, we sort of think that maybe he's okay with this, or he's like, I hate doing this, but I have to do it. But this time we realise that actually maybe he doesn't. Like he's not happy with this and he's not enjoying it at all, and he's backed himself into a corner and has no idea what he's done.
Yeah, I agree that it puts it all in a different context, because first of all, now we know this is the first time he's ever done anything violent for Sun's father. He is carrying that weight, you know, he is carrying the weight of like, what have I sacrificed in terms of my own values and my own moral standing in order to be able to have this relationship. The way that he kind of snaps on her and does this quick turn around at her to the point that we almost think he's going to hit her, doesn't hit her. We discussed that a lot in House of the Rising Sun.
Yeah.
You can almost like understand more that there's this, the level of emotion that he's feeling about what he's done and the situation that he's found himself in is so, there's so much and it's so repressed because he doesn't know. And this is also what he says to his father afterwards, like, he says, we don't talk to each other anymore. I can't talk to her because I can't tell her about her father. He's in this total bind where he's having to do all this violent stuff for his work, but he feels that he can't expose the truth about who Sun's father is to Sun. So he's just stuck with it without being able to move or maneuver, or he has no sort of like freedom of movement in any direction.
Yeah, I mean, something else that has just come to me right this second is that we do see, after he beats up the guy and he says, sort of, I saved your life, he looks over and locks eyes with the guy's daughter.
Yeah.
And I've only just now sort of connected that in my head of, like, the daughter's impression of the father, and is that why he's then connecting that to Sun and her relationship with her father, and he's...
Yeah, that's a good catch,
I'm gonna
I
think out loud, so I don't know if this is actually anything, but the idea that this girl has seen, like, the truth of her father and seen her father being exposed to this, like, grimy, dirty world of violence, and he doesn't want Sun to see that in her father. Is that anything?
I do think there's something to that, because, like you say, that it's a real moment where he takes in the daughter, and obviously it could be as simple as this: I feel bad for doing this in front of this daughter who's had to witness this violence against her father. But I think there's something to it that what you're saying is the, like, the parallels between Sun and her father.
Yeah, and because you're right. It's the fact that at the end of the episode, when he's talking to his dad, he mentions specifically that he can impact Sun's relationship with her father like that.
Like you said, when he's come back and he's got all covered in blood, he ends up breaking down in tears in the mirror, and it's a little heartbreaking. Like, it gives us that extra depth to the scene that we didn't see before because we were following Sun's side of it. And there are so many times in this episode, both in the flashbacks and on the island, where it's like, you could have talked to each other about this. This could have been okay.
Yeah.
We didn't need to end up here.
Yeah. I also realized, like, I felt like this scene, we see him it ties back to the very first flashback where he's telling Mr. Pike that he would give up all of his dreams for Sun. And he says to her in this scene where they're in the bathroom, he says, I do this for you because I love you. And obviously in the first scene, he was just talking about his ambitions of owning a hotel or whatever. And now he's giving up, like, a part of his character and, like, abandoning himself so that he can be with Sun because that's what is required for their relationship.
You know what I would have liked? I would have liked it if they could have given him his original ambition, could have been something that, like, has a funny little coincidental parallel to the story. Like, maybe he had a dream of, like, owning a boat company.
Where's the boat?
Because the raft, and the first word he says in English is boat.
Yeah, okay. Yes, that would be very nice. Very good.
Oh, there's one other little thing about that scene in the bathroom before we move on from it. We get the repeat showing of the slap from Sun. Sun slaps Jin. Yeah. After he kind of almost physically hurts her but doesn't. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of like it's kind of nice to remind us of that parallel, because obviously in this episode on Island she slaps Michael in a way that is very similar to the slap.
So our final flashback, the final one, is Jin visiting
going to see
a fishing lake.
Who is alive.
And his dad is taking it pretty well, I have to say, being told, I was so ashamed of you, I told everyone you were dead.
This guy's living every day of his life, choosing happiness. I would go so far as to say it's toxic positivity.
I think so.
Nothing
when Jin
can
is
bring
like,
him down.
when Jin says it's like, her dad is terrible and I have to do all these awful things and I don't know how to talk to her, and his dad's just like, it's a good world. Like, okay, thanks for that.
Useful advice. Yeah, but I mean, there's something really lovable about his father. Jin even admits to him that, like, I'm so sorry, I've been ashamed of you. And the father is just like, you're my son. You could never do anything wrong. I love you. Like, he may be toxic positivity, but he also is so, like, generous and forgiving and, like, open and in a really endearing way.
Yeah, and in a show that is simply rife with daddy issues, it's nice to see a father who's just like, yeah, everything's good, I'm fine. Tell people I'm dead, I don't care.
And he also gives Jin the advice that, like, well, if you're this unhappy and if this is how things are, then you should get away, you should escape. Go and do this one job that Sun's dad has given you to do, to deliver some watches to various people in conveniently Sydney and LA. And then disappear, just to make a new life for yourselves in America. And that's a real turn for Jin and Sun's story. That's something we haven't heard any inkling of up until now.
So this once again recontextualizes what we saw, because it did feel in House of the Rising Sun a bit of a weird turn, that suddenly at the airport he shows her the flower and it's really nice. And I remember we said at the time it felt really bizarre that she was in this horrible situation and suddenly all he has to do is show her a flower and she's like, oh, okay, I'll stay with you. But actually, to reframe it here, where in his mind he is starting to soften and he's starting to become more of the pre-daddy violence Jin.
Oh, I thought you were calling Jin daddy violence, which I was like, I mean,
no, the pre-violence on behalf of Sun's daddy.
Sure.
But he's like softening himself, and that's why he gets the flower out, because in his mind he's like, we're on our last flight, baby. We're gonna get to LA. I'm gonna yeet this watch out the window, and then we're riding off into the sunset. But alas,
yeah, shame that he never once again spoke to her about that.
Yeah,
shared his plans.
Yeah,
maybe
and you're right. All of this could
together.
Be different if they talked. If maybe all of these problems, Helen, are simply getting lost in translation. Okay, well, I guess that's the flashbacks done. Shall we go to the island?
Oh, let's jump back to the present. Back to the island.
So, okay, there's a complexity to this first scene on the island where Jin watches Sun as she steps out onto the beach and is just wearing a bikini, and she's like, I'm getting some me time, maybe I want to go swimming, or I just want to feel the air on my skin. And he immediately rushes over to her and is, as the subtitles will tell us, talking in Korean about this, and seems very upset and is trying to cover her up with a blanket and sort of pulling her away from the beach. And the others are all witnessing this, and their reaction to it is very much like, oh no, they're at it again. He keeps going off on her. Poor old Sun. But we probably shouldn't intervene, or what can we really do? And then eventually at one point, Sun sort of trips and falls as Jin is kind of like trying to drag her away. And that's the breaking point at which Michael is like, oh hell no, he's actually kind of hurting her. I need to intervene.
Yeah.
And the reason why I said there's a complexity about this is, like, on the one hand, the people who are sort of passively watching and saying, oh no, isn't it a shame? It's not that they're in the wrong. Like, it is a difficult thing to put yourself in the middle of someone else's relationship and the whole dynamic that's going on there that you don't even fully understand, because they're coming, they've arrived here from like a very different culture to most of the other people. And I'm not saying that Michael is fully in the right either. You could look at that whole scene playing out and be like, well, Michael shouldn't have intervened in something that is going on there that he doesn't understand, because there are cultural norms playing into it that are not the same norms as in his society. And he puts himself in the middle of this kind of heated exchange that he doesn't even have the right context to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
And yes, that's true, but at the same time, he was intervening on Sun's behalf to say, look, stop trying to control her, stop trying to drag her around, stop trying to make her cover up when she doesn't want to. I feel like there's an extra layer here, which is the fact that this is an American show which is applying this racist lens onto the sort of like the outsiders, the quote-unquote others from a different culture, and saying, oh, because they're from this culture, he would behave like this, and she would never have gotten to go around in a bikini. Like, there's like layer on layer on layer of the cultural complexity here. I think you can also turn it around and say that it's a kind of like Western cultural imperialist gaze to say that the only way for a woman to assert her own will and her own empowerment is to take her clothes off. Like, there's a whole other separate conversation that could be had around that.
I think there is also the element that obviously their argument is in Korean, and so whatever they're saying is going to be lost in translation to everyone else that's watching it. But then I feel like everyone takes the stance of, well, what can we do? It's just them. And I honestly feel like if you actually want, like, I feel like what they should do is give, if we're going to give agency to Sun, then just sort of like go over and you can quite easily give her a little thumbs up and be like, are you okay? Is everything okay here? Do you need help? And I don't
So
think
what you're saying is this was an opportunity for Lost to model bystander intervention.
Yes, exactly. And just be
Which
like,
is true.
hey, are you okay there? And she will either be like, help me, no, I'm not, or more likely she'd be like, yes, everything's, and like shoo them away and wave them off and be like, it's okay, I'm fine, don't worry about it. Whereas I feel like the two extremes we see are two very unhelpful extremes in bystander intervention, which is A, being a passive bystander and just being like, well, what can I do? Or going in and just punching somebody because you think someone's in danger without actually talking to the victim.
So Sun's choice of how to deal with this escalating situation where there's a real risk that Michael and Jin are just going to end up beating each other to death again is that she slaps Michael hard across the face.
Yes.
Which is simultaneously clever and insufficient, I think. It's clever in the sense that it breaks the dynamic that has previously been between Sun, Michael, and Jin. Michael completely loses his interest in trying to be a saviour for Sun and stepping in on her behalf. He clearly receives the message of back off. And so it fills that function, but it's also insufficient because Jin still comes away from it saying, what's going on between the two of you?
There's something going on between you two. Yeah.
Yeah. Which there isn't, to be fair.
Yeah.
So Sun then goes to Michael and says, like, sorry for the slap. I was protecting you. You don't know what my husband is capable of.
Yeah.
And Michael says, well, that's not my problem. It's yours. I feel like that is one of the interesting things about Sun and Jin's relationship is this kind of underlying threat of potential violence. Like, the other characters, including Sun, see Jin as a potential perpetrator of violence against her, even though we have never seen him use any violence against her. And, you know, we saw that kind of like almost hit in the flashbacks, quote marks around that. And in this scene on the beach, we see him like kind of drag her a little bit, but it really never gets towards being physical violence.
Yeah.
And yet that is the lens through which all of this behavior is perceived. And, you know, and so when Sun says, you don't know what my husband's capable of, and Michael says, well, that's not my problem, it's yours, he's kind of saying, like, I'm going to leave you to your fate of your violent husband. And it's quite dark.
Yeah. Like, again, this is awful bystander intervention from Michael. Because I really feel like if she comes to you and she says, I was protecting you, you don't know what my husband is like, you should be like, okay, are you safe? Are you okay? Should we do something about this? Instead of just saying, well, I tried to help you and you slapped me, so good luck, babe.
Yeah, I'm jumping ahead a little
out.
bit, but Kate does like a slightly better job of it when she's talking to Sun later on. She's approaching it with a bit more empathy. She's asking questions to try and understand Sun's side of things. I would say there's still quite a lot of judgment there when she's like, oh, how can you put up with this behaviour kind of thing. But
also they get cut off. So they don't really get to finish their conversation. So we like to think maybe they would have got somewhere productive.
And honestly, like, just a joy to see two women who have names talking to each other. Yes, it's about a man. Doesn't pass the Bechdel test. But hey, it was something.
Very close. So then we transition away and we see Jin playing golf with some rocks.
Hurley's here. He's trying to build bridges. he approaches Jin, who is indeed whacking rocks with golf clubs, and says, like, dude, you know, like, I get that the tensions are running high. Let's go fishing. He's making a peace offering. And bless him, it's such a sweet Hurley-ish gesture.
This is Hurley in a nutshell, and did have me thinking. My first instinct was, this is amazing. Hurley is great. Hurley is happy to be everyone's friend. He doesn't hold anything against anyone. He just identifies when someone is not so great and says, hey, come fishing with me. But then I was thinking, is that actually a good trait? Because this is something I find myself thinking about myself as well, because I'm always like, I hate conflict. I always like to be happy with everyone. I don't like to take sides. And then sometimes I think, is that good? Like, at what point does someone do something that you should really be taking a side? And are you letting someone get away with things if you're like, hey, it's all still cool, we can all still be friends? And is it good for Hurley to be like, yeah, I know you were seemingly angry and shoving your wife, but whatever, let's go fishing. Is that okay? What do you think?
I think you're right that there has to be like a moral line drawn somewhere for at what point are you going to stop being like, hey, we all just need to get along with each other. I don't think that moral line should be drawn at this couple keeps arguing about how to live on this island, which is very challenging for their kind of previous notions of how they should live as a married couple, which I think is basically what you can boil Jin and Sun's altercation down to. Jin hasn't done anything that wrong. Like, for all my comments about, oh, you know, he's controlling Sun, he is trying to control Sun. He is dealing with an extremely unsettling and foreign situation, just as all of them are. And, like, not everyone is making the best choices. Sawyer doesn't make the best choices in this episode. Saeed and Jack didn't make the best choices when they tortured Sawyer. Like, but is this isn't where you draw the line and say, oh, well, we have to, like, freeze you out from the group because you behaved this way.
Yeah, you're right.
Is my view. And I also want to say, Hurley eventually gives up when Jin doesn't respond to his kind of appeals and says, you want to be an outsider? It's your business, and walks away. And that really reminded me of the conversation between Sawyer and Kate in the previous episode, where Sawyer was like...
the only two people that don't belong.
Yeah. I was like, oh, that's so crazy how Sawyer and Kate identify themselves as being the only two people who don't belong. Meanwhile, there is a couple who are completely isolated from the whole group by their language. I mean, obviously we know Sun speaks English, but a lot of people don't until this episode.
Yeah.
And she hasn't been speaking English in group settings. And it's so sort of like self-centered and willfully ignorant for Kate and Sawyer to be like, you and me, we're outlaws. No one else understands us. Meanwhile,
I mean, also Helen,
to Sun and Jin speaking Korean.
Well, also bear in mind the other 35 survivors that don't have names, no one ever talks to, have no idea what's going on the island.
Justice for the random extra who was helping build the raft and doesn't even get a place on the raft.
Oh my god,
it might have been Scott/Steve. I'm not sure. I can never remember what he looks like. I also can't remember which one's still alive.
Well, hit the jingle.
Which one is Scott and which one is Steve? You say you know the difference, I don't believe you. Which one is Steve and which one is Scott? You say you know the difference, no you do not.
Yes, then we get this lovely little scene between Kate and Sun where they're asking about her relationship. I feel like you said everything there is to say. Do you have anything else to add?
No.
Their conversation is cut short by everyone running past them, and Charlie's like, the raft, it's on fire.
The raft is on fire. That's crazy. Honestly, I'll be real. It's been a while since I rewatched this show. I had completely forgotten about this storyline. I was like, the raft is on fire?
Yeah.
And so imagine how shocked I was when I found out who burned it.
Oh my god. Yes, the raft's on fire. Everyone starts like, what's the word where you try and do something and everyone starts vainly, is that the word? In vain.
In vain. In vain do they start casting sand upon the fire.
But simply nothing. Nothing happens. And then Michael sees Sun and yells at her. And is like, where is Jin? And it's time for another jingle, Helen. It's time for the hand it to Jack jingle. Because Jack does say, we don't know that Jin did this. It's like, yeah, we saw him on the beach. And it's like, yeah, it doesn't mean that he did this.
I hate to have to walk my opinions back, but this time I have to hand it to Jack.
The way that everyone immediately jumps to assuming that Jin burned the raft is crazy because, like,
Yeah.
I mean, yes, Jin and Michael have beef. There's no denying that. But wouldn't that be all the more reason for Jin to just want Michael off the island and be like, by all means, please get on your raft and fuck off?
Yeah. Yeah. I think I would guess this ties in, and we'll have another scene later where I will reference this again. But I think it's all just, that's partly why we saw that opening scene with everyone sort of sitting around looking at Jin shouting at Sun and saying, should we do something? I think it's meant to give us this idea that everyone is thinking that Jin
kind
is
of
just
suspicious,
that he's aggressive
He's a bad
and
egg.
potentially dangerous, which is why we then get this thing where everyone, apart from Jack apparently, is like, something bad happened, it must be Jin's fault.
Yeah, later on, I'm skipping a little bit, but later on, even Saeed, who, Saeed, my president, I love him, my eternal husband, he's like, we should let these two guys beat each other to death over this thing.
That is the other bit I was referencing. I don't understand that at all. And he's just like, yeah, Jack, let them have a little punch up. It's fine.
Very out of character for Saeed, I would say.
I thought so.
We're halfway through the podcast. We talk a lot, we know. Why not take this time to write a review? It helps more people find the show. Or pop us a little email, or simply tell a friend. We're gonna need some listeners if we're to make it from the pilot to the end.
Anyway, before then, we have like a fun little moment where the show makes us think that it was Locke who burned the raft, because as all the characters are reacting to the raft on fire, we sort of slowly pan over Locke, who is very noticeably not reacting much at all, and perhaps even looking slightly smug, which is clearly very much there to plant the seed of doubt in our minds of like, oh, did Locke do this? We also know that he is one of the few characters who has a vested interest in remaining on the island, so it would make sense.
This is true. And him and Michael have had some beef.
Yeah, they've had a beeflet.
Although, admittedly, like we were saying, maybe beef with Michael is not a motivation for burning the raft.
Also, like, they seem fine now. Locke and Walter are allowed to play backgammon again, so I think the beef is over.
Sun goes to see Jin in the cave, and, Jin has burnt his hand. And this, I don't know, once again, we're just not saying things in order to manufacture drama. When she asks if Jin burnt the raft, and he just doesn't say anything. And then it's only when she mentions Michael, he just says, Michael, and storms off. And it's like, dude, you could just say, no, I didn't.
Classic TV situation.
Yeah.
Create drama by people not saying things to each other that they should in fact say to each other. Oh well. Okay, then the next thing that happens is...
The next thing is Sawyer kicking him in the face.
Yeah, Sawyer coming up to Jin, catching him unawares and giving him a real kick to the head. And then he sort of like is basically dragging him onto the beach for some kind of like public...
Yeah.
Corporal punishment. I don't even know what, but this was the point where I started to think like not to compare the show to From, which is obviously a pale imitator of Lost, but in From, one of the details that is dealt with is we have this kind of closed community of people sometimes people are going to behave in ways that are contrary to the best interests of the group. How do we kind of punish them? What do we have for means of extracting justice in this situation? And Lost hasn't gotten there yet, in any case. There is no procedure for, I think this person has done something wrong. Can we try and ascertain whether they have in fact done something wrong and then apply a penalty of some kind if we find that they have? Instead, it's just like, kick a guy in the head, drag him to the beach and beat him up in front of everybody. That's the justice system in place here.
And again, Jack is the one who is like, hey guys, maybe we shouldn't do this. So Michael comes up and starts to punch Jin. And yeah, then this is when we get Sawyer saying, hey Jack, leave them alone. And Saeed is like, yeah, this is their fight. And it's
stupid. I really like the bit here though, where we see Jin's perception of everybody else speaking English.
Yes, I thought that was so effective.
What it sounds like to him. And this was like, I think this scene taken in combination with the earlier scene where he's talking to Hurley, and Hurley is trying to kind of build bridges and he's trying to make a connection with Jin. Jin just doesn't understand what he's saying. He can obviously see that Hurley is proffering the fishing rods. Yeah. But he's not able to make that connection with Hurley because he can't even have the most basic conversation with him.
No, this is something I think about so often. So often people in this show will yell at both Sun and Jin. And obviously when Michael is like repeatedly asking Sun questions, it's because he's doing it because he knows that she understands and he's so angry that he can't even think about protecting her lie. But other people do it as well to both of them, and Michael does it to Jin.
I just think like the scene where we see it from his perspective makes the subtext text. This kind of like, he sees now, he understands on some level that he has to try and find a way to communicate because otherwise he simply cannot live in this environment.
Yeah. I also really felt for Walt in this scene because he is standing and watching as Michael is going absolutely ham towards Jin. And I was wondering if it's actually like sort of traumatic to be seeing Michael like beating someone and just like going at him. I was like, oh,
very
God.
True. I mean, I did have the thought, poor Walt, because having already seen the episode, we know that it's Walt who burned the raft.
Yes.
So he's standing there witnessing the violence that is wrought from his actions, knowing that he can't say anything or do anything about it.
Yeah. So on the third punch, Sun finally breaks, and this whole scene from here till the end just gave me absolute chills, and this is, I think, one of the best scenes Lost has done up till now in an episode that I wasn't particularly crazy about all in all. But Yunjin Kim's scream is like a real horror movie scream queen. Absolutely amazing. Jin looking so like confused and hurt while it's happening, like his world is just smashed.
Total confusion and betrayal. Yeah.
And then to top off this excellent scene of big drama and tension, Locke comes stumbling out of the jungle to give us, I would argue, a monologue that is up there with, if we can't live together, we're gonna die alone.
One of the iconic speeches of Lost history.
Yeah.
Among other things, he says, why would any one of us block an attempt to get home? At which point we're like, well, you would, Locke, so this is making you look quite bad. But then he does round it all off with the incredible, iconic line, we're not the only people on this island and we all know it.
Yeah, just saying the quiet part out loud.
Very good. And that was a point when, when I was watching it the first time that I was just like, so, huh? Like, but is it Locke, and is it him trying to cover up by saying something that is true but unrelated, or was it actually the others? Because that would make sense. And obviously when we get to the end and we find out it's Walt, it's like that was just a genius move.
Yeah.
To cover up for it for Walt and protect Walt in a way that does not have repercussions for anyone else.
No. Locke is an incredible manipulator.
Gotta like shout out Locke in this episode. You know, I have my anti-Locke moments, but this was a good move, and like you say, great speech.
Yep. So Locke sort of says this, and then everyone just piles away,
disperses. Like,
and then we've
got a point.
We've just got Sun and Jin together, and then Jin leaves, and Sun is alone, and we get this incredible shot of the ocean, and Sun just standing alone in front of the ocean.
What do you make of Jin's reaction to finding out that Sun learned English and kept it a secret from him? I feel overreacting.
I feel I would have some questions, which would involve talking and communicating. But instead, he is just packing his things, and when Sun tries to engage with him, he literally just ignores her.
He says nothing, and eventually, when pressed, he says, it's too late.
Yeah.
Sad.
And I just think even if he needed some time and he couldn't if he couldn't engage with it in that moment, then either say, I can't engage with it in this moment, or just like take yourself to a quiet place.
This is the kind of healthy therapized language that we're using in 2026 that Korean men in 2004 did not have access to. Like, well, I am not able to process my emotions around this right now. I need some space in order to...
But I mean, I don't think it's unreal. Even if he doesn't use the therapized language, I don't think it's too much to ask of him to be like, just give me some space, okay?
Yeah.
Like, that seems reasonable.
That does seem reasonable. You know what they both need? Is they need a session with couples therapist Locke, which we're going to get into on the other non-Sun and Jin side of things later. Yeah. I feel like that could do them some good, although it would be problematic that Sun would need to translate everything for Jin, of course.
Yeah.
The bit where Sun, when she kind of has this breakdown and
just my God, this bit
lays it all out for Jin and says it in English. Yeah, it's so powerful. It's such a powerful piece of acting. When she's like, I have to get this out, but I cannot say it to you I can't bear to tell you, so I'll say it in English. Like, I was going to leave you. Yeah. Full body chills in that scene. Yeah. What a beautiful performance.
Absolutely. The next morning, Jin brings some bamboo over to Michael, and he just says, boat.
Start of a beautiful friendship.
Nod.
Two men who understand each other.
Yeah, I thought this was great. I love the fact that he, like you were saying, it's finally like sunk into him that he needs to start engaging, and I wonder if he was starting to feel that anyway with everyone yelling all around him, but then the fact that he realizes the one person he can talk to has been lying to him the whole time, and she has understood things. He's then suddenly reassessed everything and thought, oh, I need to engage.
Sun at the end, she's getting her bikini time on. She is behaving as if she has never dipped her feet in the ocean before, which, to be fair, I don't think Jim was ever preventing her from doing. But she's like, finally I am a liberated Western woman. I can wear a bikini and have the camera slowly pan down my body.
Do you want to know an incredible fact, Helen?
Oh, yes, please.
This is the scene that they used for the Sun action figure.
Of course they fucking did.
Is her with her arms spread
Jesus
and her blanket fluttering behind her with her in her bikini.
My God.
Never forget, lost is a feminist text. Just kidding, this show hates women.
Cool, good times. All right, shall we crack on to the other business?
Yes.
And now we circle back to what we missed.
So next we've got this little subplot with Shannon and Saeed and Boone. This little triangle. So we start with...
love Saeed and Shannon's relationship. It's so delightful.
I just don't think I do. I've never really bought into it. And I think even on this watch, I'm still not fully buying into it.
I think these two actors have such charming natural chemistry. They're like two very unlikely characters, but you put them together and they just work so well. It all feels like organic and real. And also when you break it down on a character level, it works. The way that Saeed is kind of the anti-Boone to Shannon, where Boone is the one who's constantly been telling her, like, you're worthless, no one wants your help with anything, you can't do anything, you're just sitting around sunbathing and blah, blah, blah. And Saeed is the one who is always telling her, like, you are capable, you can do things, you did a really good knot. Like, he's like building her up in the way that like no one in her life has done for her, and they're so wholesome together. I love it.
I don't know, maybe it's partly my internal misogyny being like, why on earth would look, I love Shannon, but why would Saeed be with Shannon? He's a very sensible man. I don't know, maybe I need to reassess my views on Shannon.
Opposites attract, Alex. You know, a sensible man needs a silly woman. We need to talk about the extremely iconic line that Shannon uses on Saeed. He's like complimenting her rope skills, and she's like, oh, well, I dated guys with sailboats. And then they're like continuing to flirt, and she's like, maybe we should get some rope, spend a Saturday night alone together, and see what happens. So my question to you, are we talking full-on shibari, or is this just like more standard bondage activities that Shannon is into?
I feel like, no offense, Shannon is quite basic, so she's probably just like, I don't know, tie you to the bedposts or something.
Is Shannon the one doing the tying or the one getting tied up? Because personality-wise, I can see, like, Shannon being the, like, dom to Saeed's sub.
Oh, do you think?
But in their relationship dynamic, there is something
like
to Boone's comment about how, like, Saeed is the older guy who can take care of her, and maybe that's going to be, like, playing into it.
I think so. Okay, I think part of the reason I can't really get on board with this is the dialogue that happens prior to that line. This whole conversation is so weird.
But he's like joking and poking fun at her about how like, oh, you know, you're gonna wind up a spinster because like clearly you're doomed for this very sad life. Like he's saying the opposite of what he means as a way of paying her a compliment and like flirting with her. Okay. This is how the heterosexuals do it.
Well, I wouldn't know. So.
And I think that like Shannon's line about the rope is iconic because it's like, rather than saying the opposite of what she means, she's like, I'm going to address this head on and be like, me and you, we should fuck. Like.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay.
So I thought at this point we could broach the question of like, where do the other islanders fall in terms of BDSM dynamics?
We can certainly try. I think Sawyer would be into it. Sawyer is a dom.
No, I think Sawyer would be like a secret sub. I think that
he
would love to be a sub, but he would like not want to admit it. So he would like always be putting out the thing of like, oh yeah, I'm such dom. Oh yeah, love doming people. But then when he has the experience of getting subbed, he'd be like, oh no, this is my thing actually.
Jack, very sub, I think.
Jack is the kind of person who would also be like, yeah, I'm a dom. Yeah, I'm really good at this. And then like he would like cross someone's boundary one time and then cry. Like he would be really bad at the like consent part of the whole BDSM thing, and then when someone's like, oh, you actually crossed a boundary of mine there, he would be really upset, get mad, shout, cry and leave.
I just think he'd be a sub all the way, and he'd be like whimpering and happy to be fully. He always wants to take control and take charge in life, Helen. So the bedroom is where he lets it all go, and he's like, no.
You subscribe to the Miranda Hobbs theory of what we want in life is the opposite of what we want in the bedroom.
Oh, I guess so.
Sex and the City reference. Charlie, clear sub behaviour.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Sun, massive dom.
Sun is like an unrealized dominatrix. Like,
Yeah.
She could have had a whole other life where that side of her
Absolutely.
personality was like very in
Yeah.
focus.
Absolutely. Well,
Anywho's,
what a lovely, a lovely
was
trip
something.
down BDSM corner. Saeed visiting Boone.
Yeah, Saeed approaches Boone and is like, just letting you know, heads up, gonna be shagging your sister. Don't want that to cause any problems. And Boone is, of course, racist about it and is like, oh, is this some Middle Eastern thing? You have to come for my permission. And he's like, bitch, I am not here for your permission. I am simply extending a courtesy. And I love Saeed.
It kind of sucks that he's so quick to believe Boone, though. When Boone tells him that Shannon's just using you, she wants an older guy to take care of her. When she gets what she wants, she'll move on from you. And Saeed fully takes it on board.
He's
and is like, oh yeah, she is getting me to build her shelter for her.
Honestly, like, Boone just casually slut-shaming his sister and basically implying that she's going to sleep her way around the island. Just really unfair.
I mean, in fairness, I'm not sure anyone else on the island has shown
up for
a
it.
modicum of interest in Shannon, unfortunately. Anyway, so then Saeed comes back to Shannon, and this is when we realise that he has actually taken on board what Boone said to him.
Thanks.
And he is at least nice to Shannon. And he tells her that she's capable of doing things alone. She doesn't need... Rather than just being like, you're using me and I hate you, fuck off. He's saying, I don't think... You don't need... He's sort of reminding her, you don't need to use me. You are capable yourself.
I agree that I think it's a disappointing move on Saeed's part that he seems to buy Boone's story so quickly and easily. But maybe, like you say, he also recognises a grain of truth in it and is like, I can see myself in this picture and I don't like it. But it's okay because Shannon's going to go to John Locke relationship counselling services.
Oh, this pissed me off so much.
Okay.
I hated this.
Oh, why?
Well, she goes to see him, and first of all, she starts going on this big spiel.
Yeah, she's like, if you see my brother, tell him to stay out of my business. And if he wants to say something to me, he should talk to me, not Saeed. And anyway, and then Locke's like...
Like, should I write this down? And I was like, shut the fuck up, Locke. Like, from the conversation they're having, Shannon has simply started to have feelings towards Saeed. It's Saeed that has gone to see Boone and been like, I'm going to sleep with your sister. And Boone being like, stay away from my sister. And now Shannon is like, oh, for fuck's sake, Boone, why did you do that? And Locke's being like, hey, why is it anything to do with your brother? And it's like, Shannon wasn't thinking about Boone.
I
It's
just
Boone
really
that
disagree.
said-
I think Locke is doing her a great like favour here by being like, listen, you and your brother are caught in some weird psychosexual game that you need to stop, and you should both just be like, he needs to let go of his unhealthy feelings for you, you need to let go of the way that you keep feeding his obsession with you, go have a relationship with Saeed, if you like him, you should just go do that. I think it's actually really healthy input.
It's interesting that you say that he is trying to help Shannon. Locke is trying to help Shannon, because I actually did like when he says his line in isolation, everyone gets a new life on this island, Shannon. Maybe it's time to start yours. Once again, ding ding, lost on their purgatory bullshit, we're starting a new life, etc., etc. Yes, we get it.
We're on our purgatory bullshit again. We're on our purgatory bullshit again. They were never dead the entire time, but we definitely wanted to make you think they were back then.
But the implication there is being like, Shannon, I am releasing you. I am setting you free. You get your new life. But I didn't see that as him doing a service to her. I saw it more that he's just got this weird obsession with Boone. The way I'm reading it, at least, is he wants to get Boone on his spiritual island journey, and he is merely seeing Shannon as an obstacle to get Boone on his spiritual island journey.
I kind of agree with you. I think that his ultimate motivation has more to do with Boone than it has to do with Shannon.
Yeah.
I think that can be true, and it can also be true that it was a positive thing to encourage Shannon to go and investigate this relationship with Saeed that gets her out a bit more outside of Boone's like immediate obsession.
I just think Boone is the problem in this episode. Like, all Locke had to say was, yeah, sure, I'll talk to Boone. Have fun with Saeed, bye.
I would like to comment on the fact that Shannon is wearing a very cool outfit. She's got a lovely teal top on, great colour on her, pairing it with a pair of jeans, outfit of the day, top marks, and I would also like to play the Shannon jingle because it references both her strappy tops and her weird sexual tension with her brother.
Great. Anyway, then Shannon goes to see Saeed. They make out.
She does go off and kisses him, and it's like a beautiful shot. They're in silhouette against the campfire light, and she just gives him this like one small sweet little kiss, and then from then on, they're in love, and they're delightful, and I love it.
And she does repeat Locke's line, everyone gets a new life on this island. Are we ready for our final plot point?
Rough time.
Boat. Yeah, a couple of little scenes.
Michael is talking to Walt and putting way too much pressure on him to be excited to see the Flatiron Building when they eventually get to New York. Also, Michael, work with expectations here. You're literally about to set off from a deserted island on a homemade raft. I don't think you should be putting out the expectation that you'll soon be in New York.
Wait till you see the Flatiron.
And he's like, oh, you're excited to see it, right? The thing that no child should ever have to hear from their parent. And Walt's like, yeah, I guess. I'm going to go play with Vincent now. Bye.
Yeah.
It's noticeable here that he's living a kind of simple island life and he's loving it.
Yeah.
As I suspected, the plane seats that Michael instructed Walt to get as the very first step of building the raft have not been used at all.
Not materialised.
Had to bring them up.
Jack arrives. Jack's like, the A-tier cast of characters have actually been discussing who's going to be on this. And Michael's like, oh, I had no idea. But he tells him that Sawyer's bought a seat. And then Sawyer turns up to say, yep, I'm buying my way off. And we have our 3 characters in a scene, Helen.
3 characters in a scene. You know what that means. It's time for Fuck, Marry or Kill. Fuck, Marry or Kill.
Here we go. Michael, Jack and Sawyer.
What a great lineup. My immediate thought, don't want to marry any of them, so this is going to be tricky.
I do this week. I have handed it to him twice already, and I'm going to have to hand it to him a third time, and I'm going to marry Jack.
Going to have to hand your hand in marriage to Jack.
Exactly. Mostly because I'm going to be fucking Sawyer, and Michael has been incredibly violent and aggressive this week, so
That's true.
He's being killed, I'm afraid.
That makes him not good marriage material, which ordinarily might have been an easy pick. Can I bring myself to go against all my principles and marry Jack? No. I'll marry Sawyer.
You'd rather fuck Jack than marry him?
Yes, that's definitely the right choice because the fucking is a time-limited experience. Marriage is a long period of time.
True.
Kill Michael.
Cool.
So we're both doing
Sorted.
the same. No, you're marrying Jack.
I'm marrying Jack. Fucking
Good luck
Sawyer.
to you.
The next, raft-centric thing we see is after the fire, when Michael is assessing the damage, and then, once again, Walt is watching as Michael really can't control his emotions, can't control his temper, and starts just, whacking the raft. It's like, damn it, damn it, damn it.
What I love about the scene is that we kind of get Michael learning in real time how to be a role model as a father and, model a kind of more positive masculinity, because he sees Walt's reaction and he's like, oh, I've got to not do this, and be like,
yeah,
we can rebuild it, you want to help me? He turns it around, and I really appreciated that. I thought it was a nice moment.
that is true. Good for him. Progression. And yes, then Walt is actually the one who asks if he can help, which I thought was quite interesting, that he does quite a quick about turn from burning the raft to...
It's not that he wants to get off the island. It's that he wants his father's approval and love.
Yeah. So our final bit, Locke comes to see Walt while he's playing backgammon. And first of all, Locke pets Vincent, and I do just want to say, great episode for Vincent content.
Shout out to Vincent, main character of Lost.
Patiently waiting next to the raft. He did a little throw-in and chase-in with Walt, and now he's happily watching Walt play backgammon.
Aww,
great stuff.
Let's hit the jingle.
Who's a good protagonist? He's got a tail and he's wagging it. Don't try to deny the significance of the second character we meet, Vincent.
Walt asks Locke if he's got a dad, and if his dad is cool, and Locke says, No, he's not. Which is coming on the back. It's coming on the back of last week, where we learned that Locke was adopted.
True.
So, I guess what I was saying earlier about Hurley having little breadcrumbs, we're getting some other character breadcrumbs.
That's so true. And also, those of us who've seen the show before, when Walt says, "Do you have a dad? Is he cool?" We're also like, "No, Walt.
No,
he's not."
Well, have you ever heard of a television show called Lost? The dads are famously not cool.
I think the Walt raft reveal is so good. The track is laid so subtly that you don't see it coming. We talked about this, obviously, the misdirect with Locke and everything.
Yeah.
And yet it makes perfect sense when it arrives. And it also makes sense that Locke would be the one who's observant enough to see it and to sort of... as the person who's kind of hanging back and observing, and he's very good, as we've previously mentioned, at kind of like seeing the people's relationships to each other and the different dynamics that are at play. And
do you think he just worked it out from watching Walt's reaction, or do you think he saw Walt do it?
Oh, I assumed that he figured it out. I didn't assume that he witnessed it. But it's very Lockean to approach someone and say something as if it's fact when it's actually just something that you've like deduced from observation.
That is very true. Also, I like the fact that he says, "I'm not going to tell. You must have had a good reason."
Yeah, he treats him like as another topic that keeps coming back up, that like he treats him as an equal. He doesn't treat him as a child.
Yeah. And they both decide they like it on the island.
They like it on the island. Walt doesn't want to move again. He's moved so much already. And he likes it there. It's sweet.
Yeah.
One tiny little detail to end the episode. Hurley's CD player finally runs out of batteries.
This was very funny because as soon as he got his CD player out and put his headphones on, Connor was like, "I'm sorry, there's no way his CD player would still be working after like a month on the island. Batteries don't last that long." And I was there like, hee 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 hee.
And what does Hurley say when it finally crashes out halfway through Damien Rice's song, Delicate?
I have to say, this was not an iconic music choice. Lost will have some truly iconic music choice. This had, like, I couldn't even tell you anything about it.
I think I'm not like a big Damien Rice guy, but I thought this was a good needle drop. I thought it quite suited the moment. And it's giving us like the big sort of emotional, like we're getting a classic Lost montage. We're panning over all the different characters. We see like Sun in her like I'm wearing a bikini bitch moment. And we get like a little bit of Charlie and Claire being cute. And then it just drops out. And Hurley leaves us with the iconic line, "Son of a bitch.
Son of a bitch.
Son of a bitch. Son of a bitch. Son of a bitch. Son of a bitch. Your mum might be quite nice, but you're a son of a bitch."
Yeah, I mean, like, the montage itself was great. The song didn't...
And why'd you say hallelujah if it means nothing to ya? I am taking
Great.
bookings as a Damien Rice impersonator.
Tribute act. Well, that is that.
That is that on that.
There was no scientific or aviation fact checking to be done this week for, I think, the second time in a row.
Okay, the people demand Connor's Corner. So...
Well, okay, I'll speak to the writers of Lost, tell them to put some more factually inaccurate medical stuff in for us to nitpick.
Oh, I'm sure there will be.
Should we rank some hot people instead?
Heart can be physical, heart can be emotional. Heart is whatever we decide, and everyone's attractive, but who is top of the ranking? Who's the hottest one on this island?
I mean, I've been dropping my breadcrumbs all around this episode. I'm
Have
voting
you?
for Jin.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That was less breadcrumbs and more you just put a...
Chunks of bread.
threw a slice on my face. Is it weird to nominate Sun when A, we talked about her being objectified in the bikini, but also B, I think like what I most enjoyed about Sun in the episode was her like really incredible acting. And I don't know if I can say Sun crying was really hot.
Listen,
I think I might be overthinking this whole thing.
As
Helen.
stated in the jingle, hot can be emotional, and hot is however we define it, and it can be an amazing acting performance. So yeah,
Okay.
I'll allow it.
Can I give Sun the hot ranking for the double punch of her screaming, "Leave him alone," and also the "I was going to leave you."
I was going to leave you. Yeah, yes, you
Okay,
can.
I feel good about that choice. Yeah.
So then the list is as follows: Sun, Sawyer.
Oh, she's gone right to the top.
She goes right to the top. Yeah, she was already at number 5. Sun, Sawyer, Kate, Saeed, Jin, Shannon, Hurley, Charlie, Michael, Claire, Boone, Locke, Rose.
Perfect. Well, that is us done for another week, Helen. Another fortnight, if you will. Don't forget, you can follow us on socials. We're on Instagram at Dharma Fish Biscuits Pod and on TikTok at Dharma Fish Biscuits. And if you have Lost-related questions, comments, feedback, if you'd like to offer your insight as to which characters would be into BDSM, who's a sub, who's a dom, why not send us an email at dharmafishbiscuitspod@gmail.com.
You can also leave us a review wherever you're listening to this podcast. We would love it if you would. And you could write something nice about us. You can leave comments on Spotify. You could also just tell a friend. Spread the good word.
Our next episode is going to be out in 2 weeks, and we will be discussing episode 18, Numbers. I cannot wait, and I think from here on out, we're on banger, banger, banger till the end of the season. So until next time, I'll see you in another life, Helen.
See you in another life, brother.